this ease of printing guns definitely scares some people out there, because there's people out there that are really trying to crack down on guns in general. Gun control is, on the forefront of most political conversations. It's always a segment. What about your view stance on guns? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to take people's guns? Are you free? Are you pro 2A? Like, what's the plan? So it's always something. And I feel like 3D printed guns is almost just like a big smack. It's the cryptocurrency of the gun world. It's just kind of, they can't control it, can they? They really can't. So what do you know about the legalities of 3D printed guns?
I mean, I know a lot of politicians are scared because they're politicians, and any amount of independence or power that you grant the people, you're sort of, I hesitate to say ruling over, but that's
Yeah.
in fact that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, true.
And anytime you grant those people power, they're likely to turn it against you. Just like anytime we grant government any power, regardless of who's in office, they're likely to turn it against us.
Yeah.
So you look at like executive orders under Obama, and we had a continuation of that under Trump. And I know you like Trump. I'm 50-50 on the guy. He has some policies I like, some I don't. But it's one of those, like, I would rather not grant those powers to the government in the first place. And so, this making your own gun, your own firearms at home is essentially reclaiming what the government took from us in sort of early industrialization of the firearm industry with, the stand up, like the large Winchester plants and large government contracts to arm for whatever armed conflict they were involved in. It was a cottage industry that people did in their homes before then, and now we're sort of coming back to that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, well, very libertarian too. Just like let me be. Don't tread on me. I want to make some guns. Whether it be 3D printing or how they used to do back in the day, which they would straight up carve the whole like bottom piece.
Yep.
And then I don't know how they would cast a barrel. I have no idea how it's done, but
it's really interesting. If you ever make it to Colonial Williamsburg, you watch some of it. It's
I'm not
crazy.
I'm not too far from there. Actually, I went to where did I go for because I went to school outside Philadelphia when I was growing up, and we went to a few different like old civil American Revolution War stuff, and it was really cool to see those those sites. And you think back then, as you said, everyone probably knew how to make guns, and having a gun was just secondary to putting your pants on. That was just kind of the way it was,
right?
So some people will argue that we don't need it anymore. Well, I see. It's funny. I don't even eat meat, but I will defend the right for anyone to go hunting themselves. It all comes back down to hunting and protecting yourself against animals of all types of animals, because we are animals,
including the two-legged kind that we're
including the two-legged time. Yeah, exactly. So, I want to, I believe the Constitution and our rights as Americans. I mean, we are owed that right. I don't have a gun, but I certainly plan on having one soon. Especially with the wake of what's going on. It's crazy here,
right?
And
if you looked at 2020 and didn't think maybe I need something to defend myself with, with like the police stations were like, oh, we're gonna limit our support because of COVID. And okay, well, my house is being broken into and someone's beating me to death. What am I supposed to do? That's the sort of reality check that a lot of people, especially in large cities, really needed to wake up to the circumstance that they're kind of in.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and it's almost like I think the problem with a lot of this gun talk is a lot of people, they kind of jump to conclusions almost. They think because people are going to buy guns, excuse me, it's because they want to shoot somebody. Like they enter that in their mind. They're like, oh, well, you're planning for war and you're planning to, you're getting it so that you will shoot somebody because you if someone comes at you, you're just going to shoot them dead. And it's like, I don't think that crosses the minds of the average person. I think the average person is just, if you see someone with a gun on their hip, you're probably not going to mess with them. That alone, right?
Yeah, there's been a long-standing quote, I think, from Jefferson, which is an armed society is a polite society.
There it is.
If you've got a gun and I've got a gun, we're probably not going to screw with each other in traffic. Like
Yeah.
road rage drops to zero because we're all like prepared for the worst possible scenario. So
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know, and that's kind of like I'm okay with that. Like
Yeah.
that's because I don't mess with people in the first place, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and who messes with people the most? All I can think about is Karens and I don't know, super bullies, because anyone could be a super bully, even Karens, but
right.
it's with the more you get comfortable in society, the more you get complacent in this bubble of, I want to use the word privilege, but I feel like it's being tossed around a lot nowadays. And
Kind of lost its meaning.
the reality is, if you live in America, you're privileged. Even if you're poor, you're privileged. And if you don't think so, you haven't been to the countries that don't have anything, that have to walk a mile to get water, to
Go to
shower, cook,
literally any other
wash.
country.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So these people have lost, like you said, a polite or an armed society is a polite society. Well, not everyone's armed anymore because we don't, we have a fairly decent society now. People can walk down the street without fearing for their life for the most part. I mean, this year has, I'm
right.
sure gun sales are through the roof, right? I think
Yeah,
it's like
astronomically high.
a record year this year, and
I think
it's
last month was the most background checks ever
in a month.
period.
Period. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy. I don't have the statistics up, but I believe you. You're obviously a little bit more in tuned with this world, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. But if suddenly people start going, you know what, I'm gonna get armed.
right.
They're not saying it because they want to kill somebody or shoot somebody. It's just making the society polite again.
Right.
Karen's
It's
can't Karen as much. Not
right.
that if a Karen starts Karening. It's a verb and a noun now. So, but if a Karen starts Karening, it's not like someone's gonna pull a gun on her and shoot her.
Right.
People,
I think most people understand that's never like the first resort, or like we're immediately I'm going to get a gun and shoot you. It's more of a I have this in the event that things get so bad I don't have any other option. Right.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
sort of where we're at, or
yeah. That's
where I
true.
think most gun owners find themselves. As they sort of get into it. That might be like the beginning stage. Oh, but then they think about it just a little bit more, and maybe educate themselves a little bit more on like the legalities of everything, and
Yeah.
then like, okay, maybe this is like step 5 or step
Right,
8,
right.
sort of wherever we're at. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna bring this
People,
up here. Actually, you know
people
what? Let me
who
go ahead. Finish. What
I would
were you
say
gonna say?
people who have never considered buying a gun or using a gun are in that first stage of, well, if I get a gun, I'm just going to shoot somebody. It's that brand new to this whole thought experiment kind of
Yeah,
bright eyed sort of view on things. So I don't know,
yeah.
it's weird. I like talking people through that a lot. So
Right on. So, you know what? Let's talk me through it as though I was about to go through that. Like, what would you
okay,
say to someone like that?
so you're coming in from the position of I want to buy a gun because I'm gonna have to shoot somebody like immediately, right?
Okay.
I guess
Do you think that before you say anything else, do you think that's the average thought that most people have when they've never owned a gun before, never handled a gun, but now have chosen to get a gun? That
I think
decision.
no, I think most people's thoughts who are going to buy a gun are I've seen something. There's some event that's taken place where
Hmm.
my security has been shaken because police can't get there in time. It happened too quickly.
Yeah.
5 minutes ago, the auto zone down the street wasn't on fire. Now it is. Oh, look, there's a huge crowd outside of my house, and they threw a brick through my neighbor's window. They've
Yep.
seen something that's shaken their sort of security in normal everyday life.
Yeah.
And that's why they're thinking, okay, well, what can I do because I can't rely on the government to step in and sort of, and sort of cover for me in these emergencies, at especially 2020.
Yeah.
Um, so they're looking at what they can do, and security system, couple days of food, maybe I should buy a gun. Right, that's sort of the order that we get into with most people that I've talked to this year, who are new gun owners. Um,
Okay, so now talk to me about how you can convince me that I'm wrong for one, that it's not that, work it through,
it sorry, yeah.
Oh, did I cut out a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now that explains, the type of person that is they're realizing that that's the case. Now, how do you approach them? What do you say to them to correct them, since they're
Right.
clearly, focused on the wrong aspect of it?
Well, I don't know that they're focused on the wrong aspect, because
Okay.
they're, like I said, they're getting a gun for their own security.
Good point. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so some coaching I might do in that case would be look into the legalities around someone breaking into your house at 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the
Yeah.
afternoon. What are you going to do when you're confronted by this person? Are are you going to scream and yell at them? Because that's probably the first thing you should do. And
Yeah.
then if they continue to break into your home, then it's exceptionally variable at that point. But it's all going to come out in the eventual trial that's going to take place. Like, there's going to be an investigation that happens, and whether it's self-defense or not is going to be determined by a DA and a jury. So read your, get to understand your local self-defense laws, your castle doctrine if you have one, things like that, and set yourself up for that long set yourself up for that sort of success of being able to meet all the criteria and go into it consciously, right? So read, understand, and then consciously assess if you have, if you can make that sort of plan, and again, you have to plan before it happens.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just panic and you do shoot someone. It turns out to be your, I don't know, 15-year-old daughter's boyfriend sneaking in the house,
Right.
and that becomes a huge problem. So um, it's really think it through, assess it, learn, continuously learn, take a couple classes,
Smart.
train some more, get a membership to a range.
Yeah.
So
No, you nailed it. I mean, that goes way past guns in general. You should know your laws no matter
mhm,
what. But if you're gonna own something like this, it is not a toy. I mean, some people use them as toys, but you can't go into it thinking it's a toy. You
right,
have to understand it and respect it, because it is it could be lethal. It can kill people, kill something, so you have to understand and respect that part of it. So understanding it, but I think you nailed it though, because once you really look into what you're allowed to do, what actually defending yourself means, it almost kind of y- you know not it artificially runs your mind through a scenario where, because if you read the rules, you're like, oh, okay, so everyone always puts themselves in that position, and that's how you naturally see things. So
mhm,
in your head, you've already kind of gone through you know gone through the motions, and you're already that much more established and ready for whenever it does happen, so that maybe you start screaming and scare them off because you announce that you have a gun, and they freaking bolt, because
right,
I'm like Polk County in Florida, for example. The sheriff came out and went on the news and just said, look, you're thinking about robbing people in Polk County. Let me just say, they're armed, and I have instructed them to defend their homes and their families to the
yeah.
full extent of the law, and they have guns. So fair warning, people out there that are trying to loot and pillage and whatever, whatever. And it's like, all right, well, that's a castle doctrine state. But then, of course, you have the McClowskis that
Right,
are also in a castle doctrine state that just came out when people were on private property. Uh, They allegedly say that they were being threatened. Now, there's no videos of people threatening them, and that's probably the biggest controversy. But it's a castle doctrine state. They had every right to go out and defend their property,
Yep.
as the AG has said and stated. Now, he said that he's going to get rid of their charges, but they're still there. They're still dealing with it, so we don't really know. So it is kind of a scary place, a scary time right now, as far as the laws. They seem to be like bending them and
Yeah.
shifting them to kind of whatever goes. It's almost like, what are the laws anymore?
Well,
So
the way I see it, a motivated district attorney who's looking for like a promotion or something, if they
okay,
find a case that has a political charge, they'll exploit that political charge to whatever end they desire and get their promotion, because that's how,
yep,
that sort of that's kind of how that sort of thing works.
yeah,
Like you have to get that you have to be known as that DA, and then you have to win, and then you gain a couple points, you stay on people's mouths for the next whatever, and then you get that that next bump up, or you get to run for office next year because you've started your own little branding campaign there, and
right.
so it's all comes back to media and politics, and it sickens me a little bit, but sort of where we're
Well,
at.
oh, I agree with you there, man. The media and politics are. It's been. I've been. That's
Yeah.
basically been my life for the past 7-8 months.
Right.
So you started telling me a little bit about California, because you asked me where I was at, and you're like,
Right.
"You're not in Cali, are you?" And I was like, "Oh, why? What's going on in California?" And I guess you had some someone you knew from California. What were you saying about that?
Oh, it's that most of my California's laws are so ridiculous that most of the messages that I get that relate to something in California are just the most ridiculous, um, just assembles of word soup that you could ever imagine. None of the laws make sense, and half of them counteract or contradict each other.
Yeah,
So no, like everyone in California is like, I don't understand the law. I don't know what I can do. There was a guy who messaged me the other day. Hey, I bought a pistol, a handgun from an FFL, and I
yeah,
broke it. Can I 3D print a frame? Because going through another like California special background check is ridiculous. It takes 6 months. So can I 3D print a frame and swap the serial number from one to the other? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's illegal under most laws, because you're destroying your. It becomes weird because you should be
yeah,
able to, because it's your property,
right.
and and you're not trying to like pull one over on anyone. You're just trying to like
Fix your
maintain your
gun.
property.
Yeah,
So I mean, I see it as fine, but then, yeah, I'm sure some motivated DA will be like, no, you've committed a felony. Go to jail for 20 years and
yeah,
pay $500,000 in fines, something ridiculous for nothing.
yeah. Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
But no,
Well,
I'm pretty sure
something caught
my
my
Instagram
ear.
just got shut down. So because I
Wait,
tried to check,
your Instagram got shut down?
I don't know. It's not letting me load any messages on Instagram. I was trying to reference the message that I got, and I can't read
Oh,
it
that's what
anymore.
you're
So,
doing there, huh?
yeah. So I was like, oh god. Like,
Oh man, Instagram just
well,
dropped the hammer.
we'll see. We'll see. I'll check it later. It's fine.
Well, it is a crazy time. I mean, censorship is. It feels like everybody's getting censored right now. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if my channel was censored, because
Right?
I like talking about the truth, and the truth sometimes is, not everyone wants that to get out, and
Hey, you
that's
you
fine.
remember when the left liked to be controversial?
No,
I
I don't. When was that?
don't know. I think like 1990 or something.
Oh my gosh, I was a kid in 1990.
I was too, but I was like, oh, look, lesbians. Okay, cool. I don't care.
That was like the big deal.
Right?
Ooh, and
Like my
then
grandparents were upset, but I'm like,
no
I
one
don't.
cared.
Why is this a problem? Get over it.
Yeah, it's like, it's not a big deal. Whatever, they love each other. Okay, but
Right?
that was like the big thing of the
Right.
time, and peace in the Middle East,
Oh
which
yeah.
we the president actually seems to have gotten.
Right.
Anyway, whatever. I want to ask, something just caught my ear though when you were talking about someone who was talking to you from California. So they bought a gun. They obviously went through the numbers to legally buy the gun.
Mm-hmm.
The gun broke.
Yep.
Now, for them to get another gun, they had to go through the entire process again?
Yeah,
Is
because
that
it's all managed by the serial number on the gun. You go through it to
okay?
get the serial number that's on the gun, and
Okay.
then you basically if you break the gun, that serial number isn't valid anymore. So
Okay.
you have to buy another gun, which involves another serial number and another background check, another whatever paperwork.
See, that's what I don't understand. Why would you need if you already had a background check, wouldn't that mean like, all right, we checked
Right.
your background's there, you can buy
I don't know.
guns now.
Maybe you became a criminal since you bought the first one, and you weren't.
Oh, is
But
that
that would be illegal, and we all know that never happens. No one ever breaks laws, right? So
okay? All
I don't
right.
know.
I mean, I
It's
guess I could see that. So since the first time you could have become a felon, I guess, which they're not allowed to buy guns anymore. Is that's the case, right? I don't actually know
yeah,
the laws on it too
yeah.
well,
I
but
think felony or a misdemeanor involving more than 1 year of a prison sentence or a domestic abuse.
okay.
I'm pretty sure
And
that's pretty uniform across the country.